We have just received the green light for the landing operation on Baltic Peninsula. The Russian Baltic fleet is currently resupplying in the harbor of Kaliningrad and will soon be ready to take the sea. Taking control of this peninsula would trap them in the lagoon, rendering them basically non-operational in the region. Our troops are ready to storm the beach, but according to our latest satellite data, a mobile coastal artillery battery is defending the harbor. These guns must be silenced before we can launch the main assault, or this will turn into Omaha Beach 2.0. The guns have been spotted here. This is a battery of Barrick 152mm howitzers. They can detect and engage fast-moving targets above the water. That includes ships and helicopters. Local intel reports that a battery of surface-to-air missiles is present on the south bank of the lagoon, but the precise position of each launcher is unknown as they're relocated every day. That makes a missile or airstrike way too hazardous. Our best option is to send in a light force to eliminate the anti-air and artillery batteries by surprise and open the way for the main landing. They don't expect that kind of attack, so the ground forces in the area are limited. Commander, you will be in charge of the first wave while I organize the main landing. Prepare your troops, but remember, it's a one-time opportunity, so it's make or break. Make it happen, Commander. Good luck. My ships cannot approach as long as the coastal battery located in this fort is operational. The anti-air missiles are located on the other side of the canal. A Russian missile battery generally consists of 6 vehicles. 2 of them have been located on the beach, but the others must be hiding in the nearby city. The reconnaissance group has made contact with the enemy and reports the presence of a tank company defending the area. I hope you brought some dedicated anti-tank units with you. If not, use smoke and buildings to your advantage.
Okay, so this is the data workshop. We're taking a quick sort of graphical inspection of the Broken Arrow game. The demo was just released probably 10-20 minutes ago to the general public, and I'm just having like an inspection of it. First thing off the bat, I think it goes without saying, it is a very beautiful map. Doesn't look looks a little different from what we see in some of the more cinematic screenings, but I suspect that has a lot of post-processing to it, and there's probably a lot of depth of field that is not yet implemented. The current demo that I'm running right now here is on my largest machine, and it's on this ultra settings, but it is very beautiful to look at just as a landscape. An interesting little piece of information we get from the opening splash screen is that this game was built on Unity. That is different from my understanding, which probably like a year or 2 ago when this game was initially announced, I was told that this engine was its a sort of bespoke or publisher or developer built from the ground up engine, but that seems not to be the case. Unity is also the engine that the single developer for Regiments has implemented their software, and so it's definitely it's proven in that respect. With respect to the visuals between those two titles, both again developed in Unity, we see these are very, I would say clearly, and I'm going to have to do a more in-depth sort of assessment, but it's clearly, I think it's better from a just pure visual standpoint from the sort of polygons and models that are developed in Regiments. But of course, people don't play games just for graphics. Where I think, at least for the demo, which is pretty unfair to compare, but I'll just point it out, where I think there's probably less sort of visual specter or grandeur with respect to both these titles and say Warno is in the lighting effects and sort of the mirroring like the different kinds of visual occlusions, atmospheric occlusions that you get in Warno from Eugen's engine relative to here. For instance, as you can see here, windows are merely, they're just painted on. They're actual mirrored objects in Warno. But still, these are just little details. Not really saying one's super better than the other. I think from at least from this demo, just from a map standpoint, based off of the kinds of maps we've gotten in Warno thus far, this has much more diversity, more complexity. There's more use of just urban environments, although Warno's actually implementing their own soon. Just going to see here. So there's a fast move option. That, I think, the last time I played Regiments, which was a few months ago, does not have access to that. So that's good, because that will make these sorts of urban landscapes tactically relevant beyond just sort of the visual specter of fighting inside of a city. Where I think you have something more interesting here that you don't have in Warno is you have explicit, you know, capacity counts for each of these buildings, which I think is very good to have. Now, in terms of the models of the actual vehicles, I think these are very nice. You have that clipping that you have in Warno, so you can see the clipping still there. And that's neither, that's honestly, that's not really it's not like a jab at either Eugen or Steel Baklava or really the developer. I think, is it Eagle Eye? The developer for Regiment. It's, you know, that's just a hard problem, I suspect, is the ability to minimize that clipping. And really, most people who aren't running these games in super large machines, they're just never going to see it. They're mostly going to play it from this god view. Only weirdos like myself are trying to play it from a purely cinematic standpoint. Not purely, but have that. I think the foliage here is very nice. I'm not sure if I would say it's superior or worse than Warno. It's just different. But yeah, I think maybe the tree models are a little bit better here. You know, looking at from the ground up. Yeah, you know, I should be able to run this in full fidelity, so it definitely looks really good. Then again, I have to say it doesn't look as good as the cinematic trailer, but again, the cinematic trailer for many games, you know, look significantly better than the actual gameplay. So, and we don't know, again, this is literally alpha, so we most likely have a lot of other post-processing and, you know, graphical add-ons that can be done by both the, you know, by both us here in the modding community, but also by the developers. So I'm not really, you know, I'm not really saying that, or saying that's a bad thing. I really like the attention to detail. This was with the pagodas, these apartment buildings. I'm sure we all have lived in or have had family or friends lived in apartment buildings that look similar. And although I've never been to Eastern Europe, I've been told that many sort of apartment buildings in the region look similar to this. I think there's even a specific name for apartment buildings that were developed in the Soviet era. I forgot what it was, but I think probably you see a lot of projects that look kind of similar. I don't know if these are probably more modern projects for sure, but maybe some of these ones maybe would be something that might have been created in the Soviet era. I'm not really sure. I would love some comments to correct me on this. And again, you have the Orthodox, forgive me, I don't know the terminology for this style of architecture. I think I've heard it referred to as the onion domes. Very beautiful. Also have them implemented in Warno. Well, actually no, don't have this, because Warno takes place in Germany, so, but you did have it implemented in Steel Division 2, because that takes place in Eastern Europe. It's good to see that sort of landmark and show up again in these maps. Then you have these sort of single house maps, which they're really nice. I think, you know, just personally for me, I think the single houses developed in Warno might look a little better, but again, I think these are closer to the kinds of single family homes you would see in Regiments. But again, I want to just emphasize, this is not your typical review. I'm not really reviewing the gameplay mechanics, as you know from my channel. I'm very interested in the implementation of the graphical engine and sort of the fidelity it affords. I'll definitely go ahead and dedicate more time in future videos very shortly here on the actual gameplay mechanics. But yeah, I mean, this is a very nice map. I can't track the FPS here, but you know, there's no jittering. I have VSync off, so you do have some minor clipping here, but that's to be expected, especially for an alpha build. I think this is definitely, of the three thus far, I would say this is solidly number 2 in terms of graphical fidelity, just on the landscapes. Now, when I play the game, I might change, because I think, let me just go ahead and start some problem and see how it looks. Let me just move. Alright, let's see how this looks like. I think I can't zoom in more than this, but you know, these are
Missile launcher taken out.
These are very nice infantry model movements. I think I saw in the trailer infantry actually very nice. Can I reverse here? Reverse move. Let's see how that looks like. Oh,
missile launcher taken out.
That's unfortunate. Ran over our bodies of our dead comrades. I like that line of sight. Fire looks very nice here. See how infantry looks moving on the ground. One thing that you see here is, oh jeez, force recon's down. All right. So, tank models here, I'd say, are probably similar to Warno. You have that gaseous effect in the tailpipe of the tank, which you see in Warno. I think it's a little more pronounced in Warno, but I'm not sure if it's more realistic. I'm just talking about visual spector here. Let's have these guys hide here. I like to see. Nope, that was unfortunate. They're dead. So, okay. So from what I can tell, I think, yeah, I believe that from a visual standpoint, which is, again, not comparing apples to apples here, because one is firmly within the early access program, Warno, and we have here a game that is sort of, you know, within the you know, just straight up alpha. But definitely, I think Warno has the better effects, and I think a lot of that has to do with lighting effects and shadowing effects that are just more mature there. We won't know yet about scale because you know, these are very small missions, but I think from a map design standpoint thus far, you could maybe give it a little bit more towards you know, Steel Baklava right here. I think they have developed a very, very good product in terms, and their designers have clearly spent a lot of time making sure that they have made a world that looks real. Not that Warno or Regiments doesn't have that, but I mean, like, just like the obelisk here. Can you actually, are there writing in the obelisk? Yes, I mean that's beautiful. Look at that. You see what looks like like a Soviet style etching. That's just really, really wonderful detail there. So again, like clearly they're just putting a lot of effort here. And of course this is their demo, so they're going to have it. But you do have, you know, environment that I think you could put a lot of thought towards, you know, movement. Clearly, you know, I'm going to have to play this again with more foresight and more purpose, but you know, just dragging and dropping and moving forces haphazardly forward in an urban environment is not going to be the way to prevail in this game, which is as it should be. But you know, even this fort here is beautiful. This old style, most likely 19th century fort. You can see the foliage growing out here. Don't see any naval units, but this is again, I think it's going to be very amazing once it's implemented. You're going to have a lot of maps where you have the capability to have naval warfare, and there seems to be a lot. I presume this is not even anywhere close to the largest map available. So yeah, so I think, you know, first impressions, I think definitely this is a game of promise. I think it won't be the same kind of game as Warno. I think people will play, and I'm going to have a video following up sort of my synthesis on all three, well, maybe 4 titles in this sort of subgenre. We'll just say Cold War, late Cold War, although technically this is modern warfare. There are some commentary to be had about that. Exactly how modern is this? But, you know, roughly there's 3 to 4 titles in this subgenre that are being released in the next maybe year or two. Warno was the first, the Regiments was the second, this is the third. And there was another title, I think now they're calling themselves Tactical Doctrine. That one was developed in the Unreal Engine, which I'm somewhat curious to see how that looks. And in any event, all these titles, I think, are going to have their place. I think there's been some shallow commentary suggesting that, you know, one title is going to be better than the other, and one will only play one of those games. And I think that's entirely false. They're just different kinds of games. Just because they all have tanks, or just because they all have Abrams and T-72s or T-90s or, you know, Hueys or whatever, just because many of the games share similar units doesn't mean that the games are going to play, you know, even remotely the same. I think anyone who's played Regiments and Warno will tell you that, and I can tell already that this game is going to play differently from either of those two. But I think probably closer to Regiments. But, you know, that's probably has something to do with the fact that the engine is implemented on the same well, they're built on the same engine. Anyways, that's all I wanted to do is sort of give you sort of a quick visual inspection for this today. I'll probably do a follow-up on the actual gameplay and play through the mission. But I think we can go ahead and say that we're looking forward to this year. There's going to be a lot of strategy games that are going to bring us joy. And I think hopefully all of these developers are going to be open to modding, because there's a whole lot of us that want to mod and enrich the games and enrich the communities and enrich our, you know, our enjoyment and learning from them. And I think that what a time to be alive for those of us who have, you know, lived through the RTS drought, the 20-year RTS drought that started in the early 2000s and didn't end till just now, who witnessed in their childhood the RTS renaissance of the 90s, and I think we are now about to witness the second renaissance.